The Bucks' odds of making the playoffs have greatly improved since we last spoke, and we have some more all-star takeaways. Camille and I dig into it next on today's Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. I am Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day each and every day. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. You can hear me every single game on the Bucks Radio Network. You can hear Camille weekly and see Camille weekly on our Locked On NBA coverage and the Technical Foul podcast as well. It is the All-Star break, though it's no break for us, Camille, as we're still at it every single day. And thankfully, there's been some things that have happened since we last spoke with that Bucks win against the Thunder on Thursday night. We'll get to the takeaways from All-Star Saturday and some of the clips that have surfaced too with just Giannis at All-Star weekend. But let's just go back to Thursday, since you did not have a chance to share your thoughts on that win over the Thunder. I mean, I guess we're back, huh?
Feels like it. I'm ready to jump all in on the play-in chase train, which I think I mentioned that once we got the news from Giannis of saying,
were you ever out on the play-in chase?
You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like, okay, once the trade deadline passed and Giannis was like, no, when I come back, I said, well, whatever journey this Bucks team goes on, I wanted to be the one with Giannis, and with Giannis, that means we're going to go for a play-in chase. So, well, we might as well do it. But the difference, I think, for me now than 2 weeks ago when initially saying that is seeing
you have more hopium.
Yeah. Oh, the hopium has increased, Justin. Oh, it has increased. Dieng looks like the small forward that the Bucks have desperately needed this season, in the sense of just giving you a guy with some size who can go out there and play and impact the game. And just some of the lineups that we were able to see with some of these younger cats. Like, it started to make me think, what does the lineup look like when this team is fully healthy? And you might be able to actually have some interesting combinations you can throw out there on the court. So that Thunder game, even though they were shorthanded, the Bucks were also shorthanded, and I don't think that piece of it has been talked about enough in regards to that victory. Like, yes, we know the Thunder didn't have SGA and J-Dub and some other key members, but the Bucks didn't have Giannis or Miles Turner or Ryan Rollins. Like, they were also without three starters. So it's a Bucks team that we have seen trick off games to teams missing players throughout the season. It's a team that we have seen put up embarrassing efforts at time. And over the last 2 weeks, it has felt like a team that's just free to a certain degree. Like, the trade deadline has passed. Everyone's kind of like, okay, let's gear in and let's see what we can do. And to win 5 of your last 6 games heading into the break, that's a good place to be, to come out of break and have a pretty home-heavy schedule to see what you can do from that point going forward.
Yeah, we haven't seen 5 out of 6 all season. It wasn't until, last week we hadn't seen 3 in a row all season. So we're slowly starting to put one foot in front of the other here. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot to like in that game, and I get it, to your point, too, of who Oklahoma City was playing without. They were very shorthanded with no Shea, no J-Dub, no Isaiah Hartenstein. I think the Bucks, Shea is the reigning MVP, and they're the reigning champions, but I still think with how the roster was constructed, the Bucks will still say, cool, we don't have Giannis and didn't have Giannis. So, we're just going to continue to push this one forward here. And also, I mentioned this on the show we did Thursday night, which, by the way, we do the postcasts immediately after games that you get in your feed. So to see the engagement that we had in real time and after the fact as well from all of the everydayers and beyond with that Thursday show, which we didn't promote. We assumed it was going to be Camille and Frank handling the post game, and then we found out Frank was traveling, a change in his schedule, and then Camille had something else come up. And it was, we could wait until Friday, but the streets are talking about this win, Camille. So let's get it out there. We didn't really have a chance to promote it and give you the heads up of we're going to go live. And it was very late. By the time I was done with radio, it wasn't until after 11. We still had huge numbers of you jumping in live and viewing it afterwards, which just the support continues to blow us away. that you guys have, even with some of the disappointments we have witnessed so far this season. But yeah, I mean, I think you would point to that, and we talked about it on that post game of like, cool. I do recall seeing this team lose to the Timberwolves without Ant and Rudy Gobert, and there was someone else out in that game too. Was Jaden McDaniels out?
I think McDaniels was still in that game.
At the very least, they had those two guys out.
Yeah.
Saw that. We saw them lose to the Nuggets twice without 5 of their top 7 players. So I don't want to hear it of who wasn't available, because this team looked competitive. And I mean, one of the things that we've all talked about too was the Cam Thomas signing. And I think we've kind of gotten the full experience so far in his week here, where there was like, aren't they going to play him a little more than this in the first game against the Magic? Then he detonates in the second game. Then he was perfectly fine against the Thunder, but it wasn't 34 points. That is going to be Cam Thomas experience, where you're going to have, for every game that he goes off for 30 or more or close to 40, you're going to have a handful where you forget he's out there or he's not quite that impactful, but it's just that lurking threat that helps this team. And I mean, look, I don't want to get too far in front of ourselves here on Ousmane Dieng. I will admit, when I talked about it with Marcus and Chris, and we did that show hours after the trade was made, and you and I talked about it too, it was mostly like, well, there's a lot of tools here, and there are certainly some things that you can see and like, but I don't know how I feel about a guy that the Thunder have given up on, even when they have a ton of talent. If they're saying, well, this guy just doesn't fit the rest of what we have, so we're cool with giving up on it. I mentioned on the show Thursday night, Friday, I had heard, and this is always the now you tell me piece to it, but I had heard from some people with OKC, great kid, we just always kind of questioned the work ethic and if it was there enough. Not like he was a lazy guy that wasn't putting in the work, but it was like, are you putting in enough, was kind of the story there. And like, fine, I'll take a chance on that type of player if that is in fact the case, or where this team currently is at. Because number one, that's the exact player type they need more than anything right now. And secondly, let's see if that's still called into question when you have a chance to play behind and work next to and see Giannis up close and see the work that's put in there.
Plus an opportunity to get those minutes too on the court. Like, one thing about being in OKC is that there were just so many guys before him in that depth chart. And it feels like this might end up being one of those trades, and we'll need time to tell for sure. But
you're saying it's Chris Middleton 2.0, where he's just the throw in and we're going to have 21 retired. And it's just like with 22, like, sorry, Michael Redd, Chris has got that. Now we're going to have to tell Drew, sorry, it's Uz's number to be retired.
Or you're not going to tell Tony Snell that. You're just going to But no, I mean, the thing, it might be one of those trades that works out for both teams, where it's like, for the Thunder, they took a shot on getting Jared McCain in the building there, where it's not a direct 1-for-1 trade, but having Ousmane Dieng out of their rotation, out of their lineup, does clear up that time for Jared McCain to be in there, a little bit more shooting. Just the guy to take a chance on, who's coming back from injury as well. So it might work for both sides, where for the Bucks, there's more opportunity to play here for Dieng, and I cannot wait to continue to see his development, being able to work with Giannis day in and day out. And I think it was after the second Magic game, his confidence actually surprised me post game, where he was like, I trust in my work. Like, I'm ready. Like, I trust in my work. And I was like, okay, like, let's see it then. Because one of the things or critiques about his game that I heard was like, he has the tools. He just has to find the confidence in game to consistently put it together. And I was like, it feels like it's coming together to a certain degree. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't know what we're anticipating more. If Giannis, what his status is going to be on that injury report for Friday's game against the Pelicans, or what are we going to get from Ousmane Dieng in this next game here, and see what we're cooking with against the Pelicans. You mentioned the schedule, how much it changes. We've talked about it a few other times. We'll just run through the details again about what you need to know in the immediacy of this schedule for the Bucks. And I mentioned at the top too, the odds have started to increase in the Bucks' favor for the postseason. So we'll dig into that conversation coming up next. Well, if you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. You'll love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or even grabbing a conference title, because it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now not only can you pick cash in, but it could also send you to the NBA Finals. You could be locking in your pick for the finals. Make yourself that pick with this opportunity. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And look, we did mention it where I said we very little promotion that we were going to go live on Thursday night, but we did mention it in the Discord, which you, of course, get access to when you become an everydayer. You get ad-free episodes of Locked On Bucks, access to that Discord, not only for Locked On Bucks, for all NBA teams, and a few other things that Camille and I are looking to add to that mix as well for all of our everydayers. You can find the link to sign up and become an everydayer in the show notes of today's episode. So the odds for the Bucks to make the postseason have increased dramatically in the past couple games. It was, I believe, a 79% chance to miss the playoffs for the Bucks before the second game against Orlando. So to miss the postseason altogether, not just the playoffs, the play-in as well. Okay. Basically 80% of the times that they were simulating this, the Bucks were out. And by they, I mean playoff status, which I have found to be the most accurate of these sources, and using in the past and looking like where the Bucks are going to finish in the standings, usually this time of year. I trust playoff status more than the others. I know Zach Lowe has talked about him quite a bit as well. And also, Camille, I'm going to lean on playoff status in this one because Basketball Reference does not favor the Bucks as much as playoff status does. It's a very low percentage that they have there, so we're just going to ignore Basketball Reference. But they went from a 79% chance to miss. So let's simplify it. A 21% chance to make the playoffs to now a 40% chance to make the postseason by way of their calculations. They have the Bulls with a much greater chance, which I think we would all agree with, of missing the playoffs than the Bucks. And the Bucks went from basically a 1% chance, for less than 1% chance for anything but the 10 seed for the last week or so, to now they're in double digits for the 9 seed. It's small, but a 6% chance at the 8 seed, which is the important one. So the numbers are starting to turn here. And I think it boils down to this quite simply. They have, 29 games left this season. I was talking about this with shouts to Jim, with Jim Ozarski as well. He's a very strong believer. And I mean, everybody that I've spoken with around the team is an incredibly strong believer. They're going to make the postseason. And it just comes down to, look, this is great. And he's the one that has pointed this out more than anyone I've talked to. Yeah, you can show me all this, but a lot of what you're showing me is without Giannis. Mm-hmm. And we know he's coming back this season. Now, how many games does he play in? Is there a minutes restriction? And the fact that they've been 500 with Giannis on the floor, all things to take into consideration. But you know what? If they play 500, not necessarily the rest of the way, although, you know, if you go 15-14, we'll say 38 wins, it's close, right? It might come down to a tiebreaker. I think if you get 39 wins, so 16-13, you are definitely at worst the 10 seed at this point. And how many more wins 16 can you get is the legitimate question. Like, I don't want to make too much out of Ousmane Dieng, but how much does that help you? Obviously, Giannis coming back. And here's the other thing. The most important games they have left are really 13 that I would point to here. Mm-hmm. They have 8 games against teams that are just outright tanking on their schedule. If you throw in the Memphis Grizzlies as the 8th, I think it's still TBD, but I would imagine they're going to lean towards tanking. If we leave them off, they got 7 games against tanking teams. Both games left against the Jazz. You still got 2 games against the Brooklyn Nets at the back of the season, which may prove to be like, just like last year with the Pelicans 2 games late, like, hey, let's keep an eye on that. You still got the Pacers. Thankfully, you're done with the Wizards, the only team that's really owned you that's tanking. So those games are important. At worst, if we're looking at those 8, knowing how much of a thorn in the side the Memphis Grizzlies have been at them, 6-2, you absolutely have to do at worst in those 8 games. Mm-hmm. The other important ones are the games you have against teams that are directly in front of you in the standings, and the Bucks have 5 of those. When you look at the Hawks, you're 1-0 against Atlanta with 2 games left, so if you split the 2, you win the tiebreaker. You have already won the tiebreaker against the Charlotte Hornets. You have split with the Orlando Magic and just have 1 game left at home, so the winner wins the tiebreaker. And you got 2 games left with Miami, but that's the one instance where you're down 0-1 in that set. So you got to win both of them to win the tiebreaker. But to me, those 13 out of your 29 games, those are the most important ones left. And if you go 10-3 in those 13 games, at that point, Camille, I am willing to guarantee the Bucks are not only in the playoffs, I don't think they're the 10 seed.
Yeah, they're going to be higher than that. And the highlight of the schedule you did was perfect because the games that I focused on initially were just the ones against the teams that are right ahead of the Bucks in the standings where I'm like, hey, there are tiebreakers at stake for the Bucks, kind of like double games because you get the wins, but you also add a loss to the record of those teams ahead of you, which feel like double games in my book with the counting there. So very important games and very realistic for the Bucks to come up in the standings there because even if you just look at the records, like the Bucks are still sitting in 12 in the East at 23-30. The Bulls are 24-31 in the 11 seed. And we kind of have an idea of the way things are going in Chicago right now. And I believe the Bucks do have one more game against Chicago too. So no, 2 more against Chicago. So like, let's go ahead and see how that goes at this point. And then ahead of the Bulls, and we start into the play-in range, there you have the Hawks who are 26-30, the Hornets who are 26-29, the Heat who are 29-27, and the Magic who are 28-25. So at worst, you're 5 games in that loss column behind the 7-seeded Orlando Magic. And as we have laid out, you have games against all these teams again, except for the Hornets, with that series being done. So you can definitely climb up in the standings. But one thing I'll say too, because I think the Bucks record now without Giannis is what, 8-15, I believe it is at this point, 500 with him. And the thing I laughed about early in the season when he was out initially with the calf injury is Doc Rivers saying, hey, you know, sometimes you go through these stretches, we're going to find something. There's going to be a silver lining here that we're going to find. We're going to figure something out. Because one thing that has illed the Bucks for so long is just what they look like without Giannis on the floor. And it's been very more down than up with that group so far this season. But over the last 2 weeks, you can point to the competition during that homestand at home when the Bucks reeled off their first win streak. But to go to Orlando, play those 2 games, you split those, to go to OKC, you win that game. We're seeing this group without Giannis put together some efforts where it's like they're competing at this point now. Like you might have actually been able to find some lines that you might feel comfortable with now when Giannis does come back of being like, hey, we can roll this 5 out here and we feel good about this for the moment because now you're starting to see guys get things together like Kevin Porter Jr. Hearing that one of the focuses for him has just been making the quick decision. It has paid dividends for them recently where he is just being very quick with decision making on the ball over the last couple of games for this team. And if that can be the case, even if he shoots 5 of 11 or whatever the case may be on the cold shooting night for KPJ, he's still able to make an impact with the ball movement, with him being able to touch paint, create for other teammates by making defenses scramble, by being quick with what he's doing with the ball. So I think the team is going to be in better shape going forward when they have to deal with those minutes without Giannis because of what they've learned during this time. And that's going to be helpful because with Giannis, they've been a 500 team so far this season. So if you can find a way to salvage those non-Giannis minutes, which a lot of times tank them during the games with Giannis, like you're going to be in a spot where reeling off, 10 wins in those 13 games you highlighted doesn't feel like strange, although we haven't seen this Bucks group yet put together a win streak of that sort. Like 5-6 right now feels great. Like how much further can the Bucks stack that? And the way they've played, I'm starting to feel a little confident with some of the new additions that they might be able to do that after the break.
They are 15-15 in games that Giannis has played in. So yes, to your point, 8-15. I still look at it like, well, I'm only going to look at the games that he fully played in. So there's 3 games he left with an injury. And look, you may push back on the last one because it was the final, 90 seconds of the game in that loss to the Nuggets. But I think it changes dramatically if you have Giannis on the floor for the final few possessions, right? So in that sense, in the games where Giannis has played start to finish, the Bucks are 14-13 in those games. So still 500, but like we mentioned, like if the team would have played 500 the rest of the way, and also look at those games. They won the Pistons game without him, which was the most impressive one of the season. But I keep going back to that Cleveland game, Camille, where he leaves right before halftime because the way things were rolling early for the Bucks, and it's a long game and it's just the first half we're talking about, but it really did feel like that was starting to be and moving towards a statement game for the Bucks. And I felt very strongly they were going to win that game. With the lead up to it, they had the embarrassing loss to the Lakers after just beating the Hornets the night before that in the Cup game. Yeah, in overtime. So it felt like this was a statement game for them. And, you know, if Giannis doesn't leave with the calf strain then and they win that game, first of all, they're both, the Bucks and Cavs, 9-6 at that point. And who knows what it sets up. Like when you got Philly coming up after that, you got that Portland game with Giannis, you got Miami and the other Cup games then with Giannis. How different does the season look then? But also to your point about Doc, I mean, silver linings, and maybe the path you take is always the right path of, well, this led us here for a reason, and we had to kind of scrap and rebuild some things on the fly. And now we're here with this group. So, I do want to take a look at All-Star Weekend as a whole, as the All-Star Game is going on as we're recording this, but All-Star Weekend was last night. We'll share some thoughts on that and some of the interactions that we've seen from Giannis, not just the interview with Malika Andrews. There was more as well. So we'll get to that coming up after this. Time to talk to you now about our friends over at Indeed. You got workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online, and they'll handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. a huge time saver, and it gives you real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and back to your life to turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. So, I mean, look, we've heard you loud and clear, and frankly, I'm over and done with it too, Camille. But Giannis talked with Malika Andrews. Anything to say about that? Look, here's my thoughts, and then you can add anything else you have to it.
Yeah.
It's no different really than anything that we've heard before, good or bad. So I don't see how anybody can view this and see like, well, see, he's clearly angling to leave, or like, see, he just reaffirmed he never wants to leave here. The one different part was when he mentioned Doc and John Horst specifically and his loyalty to them and his trust in them. And again, we just come back to John Horst and how many times this guy has pulled a rabbit out of the hat to get Giannis to stay. And we'll continue to talk about it leading up to the offseason, but this year more than ever, he's going to have a lot of ammo to do so once again.
He is. And I heard the comments, and like you said, it's been a lot of the same that we've been hearing from him. I wasn't crazy about the qualifiers of like the as of today, this.
We've also heard it before, though.
Yeah, nothing new because he's been doing qualifiers all this season so far. Where I was kind of like, okay, all right. Well, again, we'll see how it goes in the summer. Again, that's part of why I didn't take a victory.
He specifically mentioned thinking about playing for the Knicks, though, Camille.
Yeah,
so clearly.
And
the Lakers and the Cavs and
the time machine of like LeBron with the Cavs and this and this and that. I did find it interesting though that Malika did ask him like, hey, after you won that championship in 21, you said if this is it, it's worth it. That's fine. How do you feel about that? And
this way, like I would rather do it this way than never experience it again. Yeah.
And use the steak analogy of like, well, yeah, but you know, when you get a good steak and then you're searching for the good steak because you know it's good now and you want it again, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
so
he basically said, well, I was wrong. Is what
like, you know, sounded good in the moment, in the victory air that I had at that moment. But no, I want to win again. So like the Bucks better find a way to put this team back in contention, which is again what Giannis has been saying. I just hope that when we get to the summer, it's not a media circus that's fueled by comments that he's saying and it's taken in all different contexts. Like, let's get to work, figure out a way to get this team back to contention status and move from there. So really, for me, a little bit about nothing. I was more interested in him talking to his sons and telling his youngest son that he can be rookie of the year and dunk on Wemby one day. Because how long do you think Wemby is going to be in the league? Another 15 years, 16 years? So, yeah, it was all right. Like, I think you're going to hear a lot of that from Giannis until he signs an extension.
Yeah, so I was going to mention something on All-Star Weekend, but as I mentioned, we're recording this during the actual game itself that we both have on in the background. And yes, I've peeked over at times, and a lot of the feedback I've seen is, you know what, I'm actually enjoying this so far. So I think what we'll do is we'll just do a quick bonus tomorrow on All-Star Weekend itself. Damian Lillard, what we saw there and his interaction with Giannis as well. The last thing I'm going to point out is like all of the moments we've seen of Giannis with his kids out there. And did you see the clip too of his kids asking him like, where did Wemby go, Dad?
Yeah,
I think it was Liam.
Right,
like, where's Wemby? He's like, what do you mean? He's right there. You don't see the big tall guy, and then asking him if Wemby was better than him, and Giannis quickly telling him, no, he's younger than me.
His son did not believe him. He was looking like, all right, Dad, sure, you're better than Wemby. But I want to say this too about Giannis at All-Star. He is somebody that the league has to be happy that they have, because you don't tend to see a lot of guys who are all-stars at all of the all-star events.
The other big name that's just not there once again.
Like, we know you're there because you're playing the game, but like we don't see you. But you see Giannis every Saturday night watching the game, watching the events, being active, becoming new memes because he's so excited about the atmosphere and just championing the game in that way. And he's like the new Shaq in that sense of like the guy you see on the sideline with the wild reactions. Like Shaq used to have his
same personality type too. Yeah,
exactly. So I think Giannis is the perfect personality type for All-Star Weekend. Sad to see that he wasn't able to play in that World game. I think Wemby would have been happy to have him out there instead of Karl-Anthony Towns. Messing up defensive rotations twice, leading to the World to lose that first game. Wemby looked upset after they lost that game, but I love Giannis's energy All-Star Weekend. Him handing out gummies to players and saying like "eat my face" and just all the things that come with it. Like you need those guys at All-Star Weekend that make the weekend feel fun and let you see other sides of the guys that you watch day in and day out.
And also the LeBron, I forget what the question was, but the Q&A where somebody lumped in Giannis with LeBron and KD and Steph, and we got that they'll never go away of the like, well, Giannis, I wouldn't put him in there with us in the qualifier because he's younger than us. And yeah, like, okay. So more of this that we're dealing with. So we'll take a peek back at All-Star Weekend, All-Star Saturday nights, the results of this round robin tournament style format for the All-Star game. And of course, we'll go back to Friday in the celebrity game and everything we saw there. So we'll do a quick bonus on that coming up a little bit later. I think I said tomorrow, but a little bit later today as you listen to this one. That'll do it for today's show, though. Leave your thoughts on some of those odds we gave on the Bucks' chances to reach the playoffs and where you're at, too, on this emotional roller coaster of what route the Bucks should take. It's clear they're trying to get in the playoffs. They're pushing for it, but I've seen quite a bit of guys that aren't fully on board with the Ousmane Dieng is the savior of this franchise, and it's time to play for draft picks. So leave your thoughts on that one as well, and we'll address on our upcoming shows. That'll do it for today, though, as we mentioned a couple of times, still time to sign up and become an everydayer. You've heard us talk about the Discord. You get access to that. You get ad-free episodes of the show as well. So if you're one of those that never misses an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. You can find the link to sign up in the episode notes of today's show. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make that your second listen. NBA Game Nights on Locked On NBA. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.